Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, I'm glad.
Because we have a very distinguished guest that just walked in that has to leave on a plane very shortly, and we are so honored to have Dr. Vandana Shiva join us and offer her blessing to us here in Oregon. And we're so thankful for her being and all the great work she does for the earth, for life, for seed. Thank you, Vandana Shiva, for coming.
Thank you for all you are doing. I think I was in this church for the first round of the GMO labeling campaign. And I think, in a way, the fact that movements have to beg to know what they're eating is part of what is wrong with the system. You know, a food system which can only survive by keeping citizens in the dark is, in my view, a dictatorship. And no democracy is worthy of being called a democracy if it doesn't have food democracy. Food democracy means being able to grow your food, which has been named food sovereignty by the Via Campesina movement, the ability to continue to provide for yourselves. And that's the situation of most of the people of the world. In our parts of the world, we are fighting to be able to continue to feed ourselves. But it's also the movement here. I mean, yesterday there was one county member, this afternoon there was another county member. Local governments realized that rejuvenating food systems is vital. And rejuvenating food systems means the freedom to grow your food. The second aspect of food democracy very much is the issue of seed, the issue of having your seed, because if seed is the first link in the food chain, and that is lost to you, then you can't have democracy over the rest of the food chain. Another very important aspect of food democracy is to have community, to be related to those who grow our food. And finally, it is to know what's in our food. And that's why I joined a march last year. It was called the Right to Know March on food labeling. Most countries think it's all right to put food labeling in place. Europe has done it. And the United States is supposed to be the most advanced democracy, and yet on this most vital aspect of democratic freedom, it's been denied. Just on that single issue, whether or not GMOs work for us or don't work for us, we have a right to know. Just as we have a right to know, I mean, in everything, I find it very funny when a bottle of water tells you that there's 0 fat in water. And that's not relevant information. Relevant information is, has it been produced chemically, has it been produced with transgenics? That's the necessary information. But I'd like to, just add one little message to this. That in our parts of the world, genetically engineered crops and seeds are killing our farmers. And of course, they try and trivialize that. According to official government data, 250,000 Indian farmers have committed suicide in a little over 10 years. This is government data. We do the ground research. Why did the farmer commit suicide? It was debt. What did he get into debt for buying meaty cotton seeds? Why is the price of that seed so high? Because there's a royalty component. Because it's not working as a technology. There's more pest attacks, more expenditure on pesticides. It needs irrigation, more expenditure on irrigation. And if you don't have money for irrigation, higher levels of crop failure, which you didn't have with your own seeds and your own crops. So every article I've written, about 250,000 of farmers committing suicide, you'll get a Monsanto scientist shifting it from debt to, oh, but there's no proof that the farmer died because he ate that GMO. It's cotton, they're not going to eat it. But there's this trivialization of people's knowledge and information. And that's another reason why we wrote that report, The GMO Emperor Has No Clothes. And for all of you, read it, because it's the best scientists, the top movements of the world who got together to write it. The managing director of Monsanto India, after retirement, has basically said this is a criminal corporation. Jagdish, Dr. Jagdish, now 80 years old. And he said, I'm totally with any movement that brings this company to account. Now, of course, we could have been dealing with 50 corporations, but Monsanto's made our work easier. It's decided to be the single bad player. Yeah. So 95% of all GM seeds sold commercially are Monsanto seeds. And how can one company be controlling our decision making, our government? How could we hide? It's literally hijacking our research, our science, our knowledge, our food, and our democracy. So it's no more about a single aspect. It's about all of these aspects. It's about a democracy. It's about how research is done. It's about whether scientists have freedom or not. Every scientist I know who did an honest piece of research put their job at risk. And there's an amazing censorship going on. And in Europe, they've now created a network of independent scientists to defend themselves. We need more of that. Because some of you have come from Eugene, but one of your top scientists of Oregon, Dr. Elaine Ingham, she did a piece of research on the genetically engineered organism called Klebsiella planticola. Just because she did good work, it was too risky for the GM industry. So I'm totally with you, totally for this movement you're building. And when the powers are that vicious as Monsanto's power is, and the governments that support Monsanto, it just takes a little longer, that's all. But patience is a virtue we've been given as human beings. And patience doesn't mean being laid back and doing nothing. Patience demands don't give up. Never give up. And as the person who was speaking just before I came, the situation is very different from 10 years ago. The evidence is all over the place. And actually Monsanto is losing many cases. I've just defeated them 4 times over in India. They've lost a case against a French farmer who was able to establish that pesticide had harmed him. So they constantly bring out information to make it look like citizens are losing, we are winning. We have to share, through our solidarity, information that shows, A, that our right to freedom comes first, B, that science and truth and knowledge is on our side, and C, nobody wants to eat poisoned food. And genetic engineering in all these 20 years of commercialization has achieved only 2 applications: how to put toxic genes into a plant. Not very intelligent. Very clumsy, very crude, and we have better ways of producing food than shooting genes with a gene gun. And since you can only shoot single genes with single expressions, they end up being toxic genes. Life is sophisticated, life is self-organized, life is free, life is complex.